At 58, I thought I had it all. An ocean view mansion, a seven-figure income, and headlines that called me a self-made real estate genius. But nothing prepared me for what my daughter whispered through the crack of her bedroom door on her 17th birthday. "You were never really my dad. Just the man who sends packages." I stood there, holding a Cartier watch worth more than my first car, listening to laughter from a party I wasn't invited to. It was her party. Her friends were there. Her mother was there. I wasn't even a memory worth including. That night, something in me snapped. Not in rage, but in realization. For over 2 decades, I had measured love in price tags. I bought ponies, diamond necklaces, Ivy League tutors, but I couldn't tell you her favorite band. I didn't know the name of her best friend. I had a framed diploma of hers on my office wall, but I had missed the graduation it came from. The worst part? I thought I was being a good father. What followed that birthday wasn't just a crisis. It was a reckoning. I had to face the family I had built with money and lost with time. I could still buy anything, except presents, except trust, except her. But if you've ever asked yourself whether you're showing up for your family or just funding it, stay. This story won't just break your heart. It might save it. My name is Richard Monroe. I was born in a rusted trailer on the edge of Tulsa, Oklahoma, where winters were brutal and summers smelled like grease and desperation. My father drank his way out of 2 jobs before disappearing when I was 10. My mother worked nights at the diner and days cleaning houses. We never had much. Secondhand shoes, cereal dinners, holidays marked by shut-off notices taped to the front door. But I swore I would never let my family taste that kind of hunger. Not if I could help it. I clawed my way through high school, earned a full scholarship to Northwestern, and hustled through an MBA while sleeping 3 hours a night. I met Elaine at a career fair. She was brilliant, kind, and had a laugh that made me feel like maybe life wasn't just survival. We used to lie on our backs in the grass outside our first apartment, counting planes and dreaming about the life we'd build. A house with a porch, kids with full backpacks, Sunday pancakes, and laughter around the dinner table. I promised her I would give her everything she never had to ask for. That was the beginning. After graduation, I landed a junior position at a mid-size investment firm. Nothing glamorous, just spreadsheets and silent elevators, but it was a foothold. Within 5 years, I climbed from analyst to senior partner. I learned to speak the language of capital, to make risk look like opportunity. The money started rolling in. First, the nicer apartment, then a BMW, then our first house. 2 stories, white fence, a dog for the weekends. Elaine was glowing when she walked into that house. I remember her spinning around in the empty living room and saying, "We're really doing this, Rich." A year later, Lily was born, 6 pounds, pink as a peach, with her mother's eyes and a grip that wrapped around my pinky and never let go. I held her and made a vow. You will never know what it feels like to go without. I didn't just want to provide. I wanted to conquer every fear I'd grown up with. I believed that ambition was love in action, that working hard meant loving well. But no one tells you how ambition shapeshifts, how it can look like protection but smell like absence. The firm grew. I became a name. My net worth passed 7 figures. My days were filled with clients, deadlines, conferences. I started traveling, Tokyo, London, Sao Paulo, expanding our real estate portfolio, while Elaine handled everything else. Lily's preschool interviews, dentist appointments, the stomach bugs, the bedtime stories. She did it all without complaint. She believed in me, in us. When I missed Lily's first ballet recital, I sent roses. When I missed her 7th birthday, I had a miniature pony delivered. Next year I'll be there, I said. Next time I'll make it right. It was always next time. By the time Lily turned 10, I was more logo than man in her world. Her friends knew me as the dad with the packages. She didn't run to me when I walked through the door. She looked up, nodded, then went back to whatever she was doing. I told myself it was just a phase, that kids grow distant, that teenagers don't care about their parents. But the truth was simpler. I had taught her not to expect me. Elaine changed too, not suddenly. It was quiet, like fog creeping in through a window you didn't realize was cracked. She laughed less, stopped asking me how my day was. Her hugs became side-shoulder squeezes. She went to bed earlier. I found her awake some nights, staring at the ceiling like she was trying to solve a puzzle she no longer had the pieces to. One evening, while I was packing for yet another trip to Hong Kong, she stood at the door and said, "You don't even know what we're losing, do you?" I looked at her, confused. "This deal could take us to a new level," I replied. She shook her head and whispered, "We don't need a new level. We need a map back to each other." But I didn't hear her. Not really. Not then. There was a weekend I remember clearly, when Elaine's voice cracked but I didn't catch the meaning. Lily had a fever, and Elaine didn't call me. I found out days later. When I asked why, she simply said, "What would you have done? Reschedule your investors?" Still, I pressed on. Deals didn't wait. Neither did deadlines. What I didn't know, what I didn't see, was that while I was finalizing a billion-dollar merger in Seoul, Elaine was lying in a hospital room after miscarrying our second child. Alone. She never told me. I found out years later, by accident, when sorting old insurance documents. She lost something I didn't even know we had, and I never came home. Because in my mind, I was doing it all for them. I arrived at the house holding a box that cost more than my first year of college tuition, a limited edition camera Lily had once admired in passing. The street was lined with cars, balloons arched over the front door, and I could hear music and laughter spilling from inside. But no one had told me there was a party. I wasn't invited. I stood on the porch like a stranger, the gift feeling heavier by the second. I raised my hand to knock, then froze as I heard her voice from inside. She was laughing, full and bright, and then she said something that turned my stomach to stone. "Thanks, Dad. This is perfect." It wasn't meant for me. I stepped back, confused, trying to see through the sliver between the curtains. A tall man in a denim jacket was smiling as he handed Lily a wrapped gift. She hugged him, tightly, naturally, not with the hesitation she gave me. "Dad?" The word echoed again, and again it wasn't mine. I didn't knock. I didn't move. I just stood there, boxed gift in hand, feeling like a delivery guy who'd arrived at the wrong house. The laughter grew louder, closer. Then I heard Lily say something that shattered me. "You were never really my dad, just the man who sends packages." I don't remember walking away, just the sound of my shoes against the sidewalk, just the weight of that gift in my hands, no longer a gesture of love, just proof of how little I knew her. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my car, outside a hotel room I didn't check into, replaying every birthday I'd missed, every recital, every bedtime story I'd promised, but replaced with a Zoom call. The next morning, I called Elaine. She didn't pick up. I texted, "We need to talk." A few minutes later, she sent an address. Not our home, a cafe. She was already there when I arrived. Hair tied back, tired eyes, hands around a mug that had long gone cold. "Who was he?" I asked before even sitting. She looked at me, calm. "Mark. He's an old friend, teaches high school. We reconnected when he helped us during the pandemic. He's been around." I swallowed the knot in my throat. "And Lily calls him Dad?" Elaine sighed. "She doesn't call him that all the time. It just slips out. He's been there, Rich. Soccer games, ER visits, parent-teacher meetings." "I didn't even know she played soccer," I muttered. "That's the point." I leaned back, stunned. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I used to," she said. "You were always on a plane, or closing a deal, or saying next week. After a while, I stopped fighting for space on your calendar. The silence between us was decades long." She said I was never her dad. I whispered. Elaine's voice softened. "That's not true, but it's how she feels. She's been in therapy." "What?" "For a year now. She was having nightmares, panic attacks. Her therapist said it was emotional detachment trauma, classic signs when a parent is physically present but emotionally absent." I blinked. "You never told me." "You were in Singapore." I felt a heat rise in my chest, not anger at her, at myself, at the man I had become. Elaine reached into her bag and slid a folded paper across the table. It was a printout of a children's drawing. 3 figures, colored in crayon. A woman, a girl, and a tall man with a briefcase and no face. "That's you," she said. No face because she didn't know how to draw it from memory. I couldn't breathe. "She doesn't hate you, Richard. She just doesn't know you." And she stopped waiting to learn. I wanted to scream, to argue, to list every dollar I'd earned, every gift I'd sent, every night I'd worked late for the family. But none of it mattered. Elaine leaned forward. "I don't need you to be wealthy. I need you to show up." She needs you to show up. Not once, not in bursts. Consistently. I nodded. But I didn't know how. I'd built empires, negotiated contracts across continents, moved billions, but I couldn't fix a girl who didn't call me Dad. That night, I sat in the empty house. Her room was still full of posters, notebooks, clothes, but it didn't feel like mine. I walked in and saw a photo on her desk. Her and Mark, smiling at a science fair. I wasn't in any frame. It happened on a Wednesday. I was in my office, preparing for a call with a London investor when my phone buzzed. Not once, not twice. 5 missed calls, all from Elaine. I silenced the 6th. I told myself I'd call her back in 10 minutes, after I finished reviewing the earnings report. The meeting started. I pitched, I smiled, I signed off. Then I called her. She picked up on the first ring. Her voice was tight, breathless. "Lily fell at school. She twisted her ankle badly. I had to take her to the hospital." My heart dropped. Jesus, is she okay? "She's home now, resting." "You should have called me sooner." "I did. I didn't." "She called you first, Richard. She called you before me." I froze. "I didn't see it." She said, "Why bother? He never answers." I couldn't reply. My throat closed. That evening, I drove straight to the house. Elaine opened the door, didn't speak. Lily was on the couch, leg propped up, a bandage around her ankle. She barely looked up when I walked in. "Lily," I said, kneeling beside her. "You okay?" She nodded. "I'm sorry I wasn't there. I didn't see your call." She turned to me, face unreadable. "You never do." "I mean it. I would have come." "No, you wouldn't have. You'd have sent something." "That's not fair." She stared straight ahead. Neither was waiting 3 hours on my 10th birthday for you to come back from Chicago, or the school play, or the Halloween dance, or the spelling bee. You always say you'll be there. But something always comes up. Always. The room went silent. I looked at Elaine. She said nothing. Can we talk? I whispered. She needs rest, Elaine said. You should talk to yourself for a while. I didn't leave. I went to the guest room, where I'd been sleeping lately, and lay there staring at the ceiling, unsure how to even begin making this right. The next day, I worked from the kitchen. Elaine dropped Lily's phone on the table while she napped. She's been writing, she said. In her texts? In her journal. It's on her desk. I know it's a breach of privacy, but maybe it's time you see the damage. When she left, I stood at Lily's door for a long time. Then I pushed it open. The room was neat, the scent of lavender soft in the air. Her desk was clean except for a single leather-bound journal. I hesitated, but then I opened it. First page. Times Dad said he'd be there, and wasn't. My chest tightened. Each page listed a date, a promise, a reason why I missed it. May 12th. Daddy will pick you up today. He didn't. June 30th. I'll be at your swim meet, I swear. I swam my best time. He never saw it. December 24th. We'll make cookies together, just you and me. He sent a box of store-bought ones instead. Each line dated and cold. She had started this when she was 7. Some pages were tear-stained. Some had drawings, little angry faces. One showed a stick-figure dad holding a suitcase, walking away from a small girl waving. The last entry read, March 10th. Call me anytime, sweetie. I'll always answer. I called. It rang 5 times. I guess London is more important. I closed the journal. My hands shook. That evening I found Elaine sitting in the backyard. She didn't look up. I read it, I said. I know. I don't know what to do. She finally turned to me, eyes tired, lips tight. You can't undo 10 years in 10 days, Richard. I'll try. She paused, then reached into her pocket and handed me a sealed envelope. What's this? A divorce agreement, drafted, unsigned, yet. My stomach dropped. I'm not doing this to hurt you, she said quietly. I'm doing this to force clarity. I love you, but I won't let Lily grow up with a ghost for a father. I can fix it. I hope so, but there's something else. She stood, walked to the kitchen, and returned with her iPad. She opened her email and slid it across the table. An offer. CEO of a global investment firm, based in Zurich, 8 figures. Came this morning, she said. They've been watching your moves for years. I read it 3 times. You knew? They CC'd me by accident, assumed I'd be relocating with you. I looked up, breath shallow. They want an answer in 2 weeks, she said. So do I. You're giving me a choice? No, she said softly. I'm asking you to make one. That night I stared at the offer, then at the journal, then back again. A decade ago, this would have been my dream. Now, I didn't know what mattered anymore, except that my daughter hadn't called me dad in over a year. 2 days later, I declined the Zurich offer. I didn't call them. I didn't negotiate. I sent a single-line email. Thank you for your confidence, but I'm choosing to stay with my family. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. It was the firm's chairman. You're making a mistake, he said flatly. A monumental one. I've made bigger ones already, I replied, and I'm done adding to the list. I expected silence. Instead, I got a letter, certified, legal. The firm was suing me for breach of confidentiality. Apparently, even conversations leading to the offer had violated terms I'd signed years ago. And just like that, the industry I'd spent my life building turned its back on me. Calls stopped. My name vanished from speaking engagements. Colleagues I mentored unfollowed me. My face disappeared from the company website. I'd built a reputation over decades. It evaporated in weeks. At home, I waited for gratitude, or warmth, or at least a softened glare. It didn't come. Elaine was civil. Lily was distant. Every time I showed up, making breakfast, offering to drive her to school, sitting beside her during her favorite shows, she offered the same mechanical smile, the same polite silence. It stung worse than the lawsuit. I tried to be patient. I told myself rebuilding trust takes time. But deep down, I thought a grand gesture, turning down millions, risking my name, would prove my sincerity. It didn't. Because I wasn't just repairing a bridge. I was trying to build one from ashes. One night, I sat beside Lily in the living room, a book in hand. "It's one of my favorites," I said, holding it out. "We could read it together." She looked at it, then me. "I've already read it. Twice." She turned back to her phone. I left the book on the table and walked to the kitchen, where Elaine was washing dishes. "She doesn't care," I said. "Nothing I do matters." Elaine didn't look up. "You expected applause?" "I expected a sign, something, anything." "She's not a client, Rich. You don't close her with a speech and a handshake." "I gave up everything." "No," she said softly. "You gave up what you thought mattered. Now it's time to earn what actually does." The next morning, I tried again. I helped pack Lily's lunch, sat beside her during breakfast, commented on her drawings, asked about her homework, not as a quiz, but with curiosity. Still, she gave me one-word answers. Days blurred. I followed her social media, tried using her apps, watched the shows she loved so I could talk about them. Still, the silence held. One night, I found her asleep at her desk, headphones still in. I carried her to bed, tucked her in. She didn't stir, but as I pulled the blanket up, she murmured something. Half asleep. "Don't promise." I froze. That single phrase hit harder than any insult. She wasn't afraid I'd fail. She was afraid I'd say I'd try. Because she'd learned not to believe my words, I nearly walked out that night, packed a bag, drove somewhere quiet and meaningless. But I didn't. Instead, I stayed. Not because it felt rewarding, but because pain was part of the process. A week later, Lily's grandmother, Elaine's mom, came to visit. She was sharp, observant, and never one to sugarcoat. She asked to speak with me alone. "Walk with me," she said, gesturing toward the backyard. We walked in silence for a bit. Then she said, "You know, 5 years ago, Elaine drafted a divorce petition." I stopped. "What?" "She didn't send it. She kept it in a folder. I saw it when I came to help with Lily after Elaine's." She paused. "After her miscarriage." I looked away. "She never told me." "She didn't want to give up on you." I couldn't respond. "She cried every night for a month," her mother continued. "And then she waited. Not because she thought you'd change, but because she hoped you would." I swallowed the lump rising in my throat. "She loved you enough to stay through silence. But Lily?" She shook her head. "Lily's not old enough to wait through silence. She needs action. Real, repetitive, humble action." We stood there as the sun dipped behind the trees. "She still draws you," she said. "What?" "In her sketchbook. I saw one the other day. It was just your hands. No face. Just hands offering something. She's still waiting to see what you'll give that isn't wrapped in a bow." That night, I didn't try to say anything to Lily. I didn't offer gifts or apologies. I sat at the kitchen table and wrote her a letter. Not to explain, not to defend, just to tell her I was still here. And I wasn't leaving. 3 weeks after the lawsuit faded into white noise and the Zurich offer was replaced by blank spaces on my calendar, I asked Elaine and Lily if they wanted to go away for the weekend. To the cabin, I said. Elaine blinked. The one in the Catskills? The one I promised. For 5 years. Lily looked up from her cereal. She didn't say yes, but she didn't say no. That Friday, we packed the SUV. I made sandwiches. Elaine double-checked the weather. Lily brought her sketchbook and her headphones. The drive was quiet, not tense, just untested. I didn't try to force conversation. I let the music fill the gaps. When we arrived, the cabin looked older than I remembered, probably because I hadn't seen it in a decade. I'd bought it as a future promise, then buried it under board meetings and bonuses. Elaine walked inside and smiled faintly. Still smells like cedar and forgotten intentions. We unpacked, set up the fire pit, cooked hot dogs over the flames that night. Lily sat beside me, a blanket over her shoulders. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was intruding on my own family. After dinner, Elaine went inside to clean up. Lily stayed by the fire, drawing in her sketchbook. I didn't interrupt. I just sat quietly, watching the flames rise and fall. After a few minutes, she put the pencil down and said, without looking at me, "You always said we'd come here. I used to imagine it." "I know," I whispered. "I'm sorry it took so long." She looked up, her eyes glassy. "I stopped believing you'd ever come. And I hated you for it. I deserved that." She shook her head. "That's not why I hated you." I sat up straighter. "I hated you because I loved you," she said. Her voice cracked. "And you didn't even see it. I waited. I made drawings, I left notes, I memorized your flight numbers. I asked Mom what time you'd be home." She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. And then I stopped. Because it hurt too much to hope. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. She stood, walked toward me and wrapped her arms around my chest. "I wanted to stop loving you," she whispered. "But I couldn't." I held her as tight as she let me. That night, Elaine and I sat on the cabin's small porch, 2 mugs of tea between us, no words for several minutes. "She's never said that before," Elaine finally said. "I've never earned it before." Elaine looked down at her cup. "You know, I stopped being angry a long time ago. I just started grieving, like you had died. But your body was still around." She wiped her cheek. I didn't want her to grow up learning that's what love looked like: absence, apology, gifts. I reached over, gently took her hand. "I can't undo the grief, but maybe we can stop adding to it." She nodded, just once. The next morning, we made pancakes, burnt the first batch, laughed over the second. Lily took photos of the trees, the smoke, her mother flipping a pancake mid-air. And I was in one of the photos, truly in it. Back home, something shifted. We didn't declare it, we didn't celebrate it, but there was a new rhythm forming. We had breakfast together most mornings. We turned off phones at 8 p.m. Lily started showing me her favorite games, silly ones, puzzle games, ones where you draw cats that fight with spaghetti. I sucked at all of them, but she laughed. And then she taught me. Elaine and I began something small, letters, not emails, not texts, real letters folded and left on pillows. We didn't talk about the past. We told each other who we were now, what scared us, what made us laugh, what kind of soup we liked in the fall, like strangers falling in love for the first time. Some nights I'd find her letter before bed and feel something open in my chest I hadn't felt in years. It wasn't romance. It was repair. Then, one afternoon, Lily walked into my office at home. She didn't knock, just walked in, holding a piece of paper. "I found this," she said. She handed it to me. It was old, folded many times, faded, a drawing, 3 stick figures, a woman, a girl, a man. The girl and the woman had smiles. The man didn't. "I drew this when I was 8, she said, "the day you missed the science fair." I looked up. "I kept it because I wanted to remember how I felt, and I want you to remember it too, so you don't go back." "I won't," I said. "You've said that before." "I mean it now." She hesitated. Then she unfolded the drawing again, took a pencil, and added something to the man's face. A small, crooked smile. "He's not there yet," she said. "But maybe he's learning." I started writing again. Not emails, not reports. Just 1 sentence a day in a black leather notebook I titled 360 Days of Presence. The rule was simple. I could only write about moments I was physically and emotionally there for. Day 1, I listened to Lily describe the plot of a game for 18 straight minutes. Didn't check my phone once. Day 7. Elaine and I watched the sunset from the porch, not speaking. It said enough. Day 15. I burned the pancakes again. Lily still laughed. It wasn't eloquent, but it was honest. And the more I wrote, the more I saw how much I'd missed. Not just events, but nuances. How Lily wrinkled her nose when she was thinking. How Elaine hummed the same melody when cooking. How quiet moments could feel louder than applause. A friend from my old firm reached out one day. He'd seen a post Lily made, something simple. A picture of our family playing cards with the caption, "He's showing up." The friend asked if I'd speak at a local business conference. Topic: what real success looks like. I almost said no, but Elaine encouraged me. If one person hears it and chooses dinner over another late meeting, it's worth it. So I stood on stage 2 weeks later, facing a room of men in tailored suits and polished shoes, and said, "I spent 2 decades building wealth and 3 years trying to earn back 1 word from my daughter. Dad." I told them about the journal, the missed birthdays, the lawsuit, the Zurich offer I turned down not for principle, but for survival, emotional survival. I didn't lecture. I just told the truth. Afterwards, a man came up, tears in his eyes. My son stopped calling me. I thought it was just adolescence. Now I wonder. The talk spread, chambers of commerce, parenting panels, even a podcast. I didn't get paid for most of them, but I got letters, from fathers, from daughters. One read, "Thank you for showing me it's not too late." Another, "My dad listened to your story. Then he took me fishing for the first time in 14 years. At home, the rhythm continued. Lily filled more sketchbooks. Elaine planted a garden. We started a Sunday tradition. Each of us writes 1 truth from the week. No filters, no edits. We read them together. Elaine's truth one Sunday: "I don't flinch anymore when I hear you walk in the door." Lily's: "You remembered my friend's name today. It meant more than you think." Mine: "I forgot about the stock market today. And it felt good." Elaine began something of her own, too. She launched a small consultancy, helping parents reconnect with their kids, especially those with demanding careers. She used our story, our real, raw, broken story, as the foundation. It didn't make headlines, but it changed households. On the day Lily turned 18, I came home early. She didn't know we'd planned a party. Just us, Elaine, her grandma, 2 close friends. Her favorite meal: her favorite playlist, and a small cake that read, "To the girl who taught us all how to love louder." She smiled all night, not politely, fully. After dinner, she pulled me aside and handed me a folded paper. "I think you've earned this." I unfolded it. It was the old drawing, the one from years ago, but it was different. The man now had a face, and all three figures were smiling. "I never thought I'd redraw it," she said. I was speechless. "I waited," she said, "and you showed up." I pulled her into my arms. Elaine joined us. And for a moment, the light in the room wasn't from the candles. It was from us. Later that night, I sat with my notebook and wrote one final entry. Day 365. She called me Dad, and I didn't cry until after she left the room. That was the last sentence. Not because I stopped showing up, but because presence had become the norm, not the exception. Looking back, I'd spent millions trying to buy back what I thought I'd lost. Time, trust, love, but none of those could be purchased. Not with a black card, not with bonuses, not with beachfront property. All my daughter ever wanted was time, the kind that wasn't distracted, the kind that looked her in the eyes and asked real questions and waited for real answers. I used to think legacy was what you built. Now I know it's what you give, without being asked. I used to think success was being known by the world. Now I know it's being known by your family. And I used to think I could make up for everything with a single grand gesture. But the only thing that ever mattered was simply showing up.